Nobody can hurt you anymore. Not because you found better people. Not because you became stronger. Not because you built walls or stopped caring. Because you finally understood the ruthless truth about where hurt actually comes from. And most people never grasp this truth because it requires accepting something uncomfortable. Something that feels like victim blaming, but is actually ultimate empowerment. Something that sounds harsh, but is actually liberation. Here's the ruthless truth. Nobody has ever hurt you. Not once. Not your ex. Not your parents. Not the friend who betrayed you. Not the boss who fired you. Not the person who rejected you. None of them hurt you. You hurt yourself by giving them power they never actually had, by making them responsible for things only you control, by investing in outcomes you couldn't guarantee, by expecting things reality never promised. That's the ruthless part. And it's why nobody can hurt you anymore. Because once you understand this truth, once you see that all your hurt was self-inflicted through misplaced power and mismanaged expectations, you stop giving that power away. In the next 12 minutes, I'm going to show you this truth completely. Why it's accurate, why it's liberating, and exactly what changes when you accept it. Because the moment you stop giving power to hurt you is the moment nobody can hurt you. Let me show you the ruthless truth. Here's the ruthless truth in its most direct form. Every time you've been hurt, you created that hurt yourself through 3 specific mechanisms. Not because you're weak, because you gave away power you should have kept. Power over your emotional state. Power over your well-being. Power over your sense of self. Other people did things, said things, made choices. Those were their actions. But those actions only hurt you because you'd given them power to affect your internal state. Without that granted power, their actions would just be information, not devastation. Let me show you the 3 mechanisms of self-inflicted hurt. Mechanism 1. You made your emotional state dependent on their behavior. The first mechanism, you gave someone else control over your emotional well-being. You made how you feel dependent on what they do, say, or choose. That dependency is what created hurt when their behavior didn't match your needs. Here's how this works. Someone you care about leaves. You're devastated. But why are you devastated? Not because they left. Leaving is just action. You're devastated because you made your emotional well-being dependent on their presence. You structured your internal state around them staying. When they stayed, you felt good. When they left, your emotional structure collapsed. That collapse is the hurt. But who built that structure? You did. Who made your well-being dependent on their staying? You did. They just left. You created the devastation by making their staying essential to your internal state. Same with betrayal. Someone betrays you. You're crushed. But why crushed? Not because they betrayed. Betrayal is just behavior revealing character. You're crushed because you made your emotional stability dependent on their loyalty. You built your sense of security around them being trustworthy. When they were loyal, you felt secure. When they betrayed, your security structure collapsed. That collapse is the hurt. But who built that structure? You did. Who made your security dependent on their loyalty? You did. They just revealed their actual character. You created the crush by making their loyalty essential to your stability. Real talk. This is the hardest truth to accept, because it feels like, so it's my fault they hurt me. Not fault. Responsibility. They did what they did. You can't control that. But you created the conditions where their behavior could devastate you by making your internal state dependent on their external behavior. That dependency is what made their behavior hurt. Without that dependency, their behavior would be disappointing maybe, not devastating. Information about them, not destruction of you. Mechanism 2. You invested emotionally before verifying trustworthiness. The second mechanism. You gave someone access to your emotional core before they proved they'd protect that access. You invested heavily before they earned that investment. That premature investment is what created vulnerability to being hurt. Here's how this works. You meet someone. Connection feels good. So you immediately invest deeply. Make them important. Give them emotional access. Make their opinion matter. All before you know if they're safe. That premature investment creates massive vulnerability. You've given them power to hurt you before you know if they'll use that power responsibly. Before you know their character. Before you know their intentions. Before pattern is established. Then they hurt you. Use the access carelessly. Exploit the importance. Disregard their impact. And you're devastated. I trusted them. I gave them everything. How could they? But here's the ruthless question. Why did you give them everything before they proved they deserved everything? Why did you invest deeply before they demonstrated they'd honor that investment? Why did you make them important before they showed they'd value that importance? You invested prematurely. That premature investment created the vulnerability. They just behaved according to their actual character, which you didn't verify before investing. You created the conditions for hurt by granting access before earning. Real talk. Most of your deepest hurts came from people who never actually earned the level of investment you gave them. You gave based on potential, on hope, on how good the connection felt initially, not on proven pattern over time. That premature investment is self-inflicted vulnerability. They just acted consistently with who they always were. You created the hurt by investing before knowing who they actually were. Mechanism 3. You expected things. Reality never promised. The third mechanism. You expected people to behave according to your preferences rather than their nature. You expected reality to be fair. You expected outcomes to match your efforts. Those expectations created the hurt when reality diverged from them. Here's how this works. You expect loyalty. Someone isn't loyal. You're hurt. But why hurt? Because reality violated your expectation. But who promised you loyalty? Who guaranteed people will behave according to your preference for loyalty? Nobody. You created that expectation. Reality just operated according to actual human nature, which includes betrayal. You expect fairness. Something unfair happens. You're hurt. But why hurt? Because reality violated your expectation of fairness. But who promised reality would be fair? Who guaranteed just outcomes? Nobody. You created that expectation. Reality just operated according to its actual mechanisms, which include randomness and injustice. You expect reciprocity. You give. They don't give back. You're hurt. But why hurt? Because reality violated your expectation that giving creates obligation to return. But who promised reciprocity? Who guaranteed your giving would be matched? Nobody. You created that expectation. They just acted according to their actual nature, which may not include reciprocation. Every expectation you hold about how people should behave or how reality should work creates vulnerability to hurt when that expectation isn't met. And most of your expectations aren't based on what reality actually promises. They're based on what you wish reality would be. That wish-based expectation is self-created vulnerability. Reality just operates as it operates. You created the hurt by expecting it to operate differently. Why this is the ruthless truth. Here's why this is ruthless. Most people want to believe. People hurt me. I'm victim of their choices. I have no control. That narrative feels safer because it protects you from responsibility. If people hurt you and you can't control it, you're blameless. Innocent victim of others' cruelty. But that narrative also makes you permanently powerless. If people can hurt you and you can't control it, you're permanently vulnerable, forever at mercy of others' choices. That's terrifying position. Permanent victimhood. The ruthless truth trades that comfortable blamelessness for uncomfortable power. People didn't hurt me. I hurt myself by giving them power, investing prematurely, and expecting things reality never promised. Which means I can stop hurting myself by stopping those three mechanisms. That truth feels harsh, feels like self-blame, but it's actually liberation, because it means you have complete control over whether you can be hurt, not over others' behavior, over whether their behavior has power to devastate you. Other people will betray, leave, disappoint, be cruel, be selfish, be inconsistent. That's human nature and reality. You can't control that, but you can control whether those behaviors devastate you by not making your well-being dependent on their behavior, by not investing before earning, by not expecting things reality doesn't promise. Do those three things, and their behaviors become information, not devastation. They betray information about their character. Adjust accordingly. They leave information about their commitment. Recalibrate. They disappoint information about their reliability. Update expectations. Information can't hurt you. Only violated dependencies, premature investments, and unmet expectations hurt you. And all three of those are completely under your control. That's the ruthless truth. And it's why nobody can hurt you anymore, once you accept it and implement it. So what actually changes when you accept the ruthless truth? When you understand that all hurt is self-inflicted through misplaced power, premature investment, and unrealistic expectations. Three fundamental shifts, and they happen quickly once you truly accept this truth. Shift 1. You stop being devastated by others' behavior. The first shift. People's choices stop having power to devastate you. They can disappoint you. They can't destroy you, because you've stopped making your internal state dependent on their external behavior. Here's what this looks like. Someone you care about leaves. You feel sadness. That's normal. Caring about people means their absence registers emotionally. But you're not devastated, not collapsed, not unable to function, because your emotional well-being wasn't dependent on their presence. You enjoyed their presence, valued it, but your internal stability didn't require it. So their leaving is sad, not structurally devastating. Someone betrays you. You feel disappointment. That's reasonable. You preferred loyalty. But you're not crushed, not emotionally destroyed, not questioning everything, because your sense of security wasn't dependent on their loyalty. You hoped for loyalty, didn't base your stability on assuming it. So their betrayal is disappointing information about their character, not collapse of your emotional foundation. Real talk. When I truly internalized this truth, people's worst behaviors stopped devastating me. someone I loved deeply left. I was sad for weeks, not destroyed for months, because my well-being wasn't built on their staying. Someone I trusted betrayed me significantly. I was disappointed and adjusted my trust accordingly. Not emotionally collapsed, because my security wasn't built on their loyalty. Same events that would have destroyed me years ago now just registered as sad or disappointing, but manageable information. Because I'd stopped making my internal state dependent on external behaviors I couldn't control. Pause here. Go to comments. Does accepting this truth feel liberating or harsh to you? Just one word. Liberating or harsh. Your answer reveals whether you're ready for this power or still attached to victimhood. Shift 2. You become radically discerning about investment. The second shift. You stop investing emotionally in people before they've proven they deserve that investment. You become ruthlessly careful about who gets access to your emotional core. Here's what this looks like. You meet someone. Connection feels good. Your old pattern would be, immediately invest deeply. Make them important. Give full access. Your new pattern, enjoy the connection but invest minimally initially. Keep them at appropriate distance for level of trust earned. Let them prove trustworthiness over time through consistent behavior. Increase investment proportionally to proven pattern. They prove consistently trustworthy over months, investment increases. They prove inconsistent or untrustworthy. Investment stays minimal or withdraws. You're matching investment to demonstrated character, not to hoped-for potential. That radical discernment protects you, because you're not giving people power to hurt you before they've shown they'll protect that power. You're verifying before trusting, proving before investing, pattern testing before vulnerating. Real talk. The shift made me much less frequently hurt, because I stopped giving deep emotional access to people who hadn't earned it. Most people never earn deep access. They're inconsistent, unreliable, self-interested primarily. That's fine. They get minimal investment, minimal access, minimal ability to hurt me. The rare people who consistently prove trustworthy over extended time get deep investment, and they almost never hurt me. Because they earned the investment by being trustworthy, I still get hurt occasionally, but only by people who earned deep investment through years of proven trustworthiness and then violated it. That's rare, and when it happens, it's proportionate hurt, not devastation from unearned investment. Shift 3. You expect nothing and accept everything. The third shift. You eliminate expectations about how people should behave or how reality should work. You expect nothing. Accept whatever emerges. Respond strategically to what is. Not suffer about what should be. Here's what this looks like. You give someone help. Old pattern. Expect reciprocation. Get hurt when they don't reciprocate. I help them. They should help me. New pattern. Give help because you choose to. Expect nothing about their reciprocation. If they reciprocate, pleasant surprise. If they don't, information about their character. No hurt. Because no expectation was violated. Someone treats you poorly. Old pattern. They shouldn't treat me this way. This is wrong. I'm hurt. Expectation that people should treat you well creates hurt when they don't. New pattern. They're treating me poorly. That's information about who they are. What's my strategic response? No expectation that people should treat you well. Just observation of how they actually treat you. Information, not hurt. Something you worked for fails. Old pattern. This should have worked. I did everything right. This is unfair. I'm devastated. Expectation of fairness and guaranteed success creates hurt when reality doesn't match. New pattern. This didn't work. What can I learn? What's next approach? No expectation that effort guarantees success. Just observation of what happened. Data for adjustment. Not devastation. Real talk. This shift eliminated probably 80% of my emotional suffering. Most of my hurt came from expectations reality violated. People should be loyal. Life should be fair. Effort should guarantee success. None of those expectations were based on how reality actually works. They were based on how I wished reality worked. When reality kept operating according to its actual nature, rather than my preferred nature, I suffered. Eliminating expectations eliminated that suffering. Now, reality just is what it is. People behave according to their nature. Outcomes happen according to complex causation I don't fully control. I respond strategically to what is. Don't suffer about what should be. That's not pessimism. That's realism. I still hope for positive outcomes. Still prefer good treatment. Still value loyalty. But I don't expect any of it. So when I get it, I'm grateful. When I don't, I adjust. No suffering either way. Those are the three shifts. Stop being devastated by others' behavior. Become radically discerning about investment. Expect nothing and accept everything. Implement all three, and nobody can hurt you anymore. Not because they stop trying, because you've eliminated the three mechanisms through which you hurt yourself. Now let me show you exactly how to implement these shifts. So how do you actually implement these three shifts? How do you go from being hurt by everyone to being hurt by no one? 3 practices. 1 for each shift. Implement all 3, and you become emotionally invulnerable to others' behavior. Practice 1. Emotional independence. First practice addresses first shift. Build emotional well-being independent of any single person's behavior. Specific implementation. Identify everything you've made dependent on someone else. I need their approval to feel worthy. I need their presence to feel secure. I need their love to feel valuable. For each dependency, build alternative source or self-sufficiency. Worth comes from internal values. Security comes from self-reliance and distributed relationships. Value comes from self-acceptance. Daily practice. When you notice your mood dependent on someone's behavior, they didn't text back and you're anxious, they criticized you and you're upset. Pause. Recognize the dependency. Rebuild internal state independent of their behavior. They didn't text. That's information about their communication style or current availability. My emotional state doesn't depend on their texting speed. I'm fine regardless. That's independenza emotiva. Emotional independence. Your internal state becomes independent variable, not dependent on others' behavior. Practice 2. Graduated investment. Second practice addresses second shift. Invest proportionally to proven pattern over time. Specific implementation. Create 4 investment levels. Minimal. Weeks 0 to 2. Light. Months 1 to 3. Moderate. Months 3 to Mars 12. Full. Year plus. New people enter at minimal. No deep emotional access. No making them important. No vulnerability. Friendly. Pleasant. Boundaried. They prove consistently trustworthy. Advance 1 level after appropriate time. They prove inconsistent or untrustworthy. Reduce level or maintain minimal permanently. You're matching emotional investment and vulnerability to demonstrated trustworthiness, not to potential or initial feeling. That's investimento graduado, graduated investment, protection through verification before vulnerability. Practice 3. Expectation elimination. Third practice addresses third shift. Systematically eliminate expectations about how people or reality should be. Specific implementation. Catch yourself using should. They should reciprocate. Life should be fair. This should work. Every time you catch should, replace with might, or eliminate entirely. They might reciprocate. I hope they do. No guarantee. Life might be fair sometimes, often isn't. I'll respond strategically either way. This might work. Might not. I'll see what happens and adjust. Daily practice. List your current expectations. I expect loyalty. I expect fairness. I expect effort to guarantee success. Challenge each one. Is this expectation based on guaranteed reality or preferred wish? Most expectations are wish-based. Reality never promised them. Release them. Expect nothing. Accept whatever emerges. Respond strategically. That's liberazione dalle aspettative. Liberation from expectations. Freedom from suffering created by reality, violating expectations you shouldn't have held. 3 practices: emotional independence, graduated investment, expectation elimination. Implement all 3, and you've eliminated the 3 mechanisms through which you hurt yourself. Nobody can hurt you anymore, because you've stopped giving them the power to hurt you. Real talk. These 3 practices transformed my life completely. Took about 6 months to fully implement. But within weeks, I noticed dramatic reduction in how often and deeply I was hurt by others. Not because people became better, because I stopped creating the conditions where their behavior could devastate me. That's the power of accepting the ruthless truth. Uncomfortable initially, liberating permanently. Here's the ruthless truth about why nobody can hurt you anymore. Because you've finally understood that nobody ever hurt you. You hurt yourself. By making your well-being dependent on their behavior. By investing before earning. By expecting things reality never promised. And now that you understand that, you can stop doing those 3 things, which means you stop hurting yourself, which means nobody can hurt you. Because hurt requires those 3 mechanisms. Eliminate them, and hurt becomes impossible. So here's what you do starting today. Practice 1. Build emotional independence. Identify one dependency on someone's behavior. I need their approval. Build alternative source or self-sufficiency. Worth comes from my values. Practice 2. Graduate investment. Someone new in your life. Start minimal. Verify over time. Advance investment only after pattern proves trustworthy. Practice 3. Eliminate expectations. Catch yourself saying should. Replace with reality. They might. They might not. I'll respond either way. 3 practices. 6 months. Complete emotional invulnerability. The ruthless truth is, you've always had this power. You just didn't know it. Because you believed other people hurt you, and that belief made you powerless. Now you know. You hurt yourself by giving power away, which means you can stop being hurt by keeping that power. Nobody can hurt you anymore. Not because people changed, because you stopped hurting yourself. Apply the ruthless truth and become emotionally untouchable.